What if I told you that one of the most terrifying discoveries in the history of space exploration wasn't about a black hole? It wasn't about a distant galaxy. It wasn't even about something we found light years away. It was about a tiny frozen rock right here in our own solar system, a world we thought was dead. A world we literally kicked out of the Planet Club and stopped caring about. This is Pluto, and in 2015, when we finally got close enough to actually see it, scientists went silent. Not because it was boring, because what they saw made absolutely no sense. Mountains taller than the Rockies, a surface that moves and breathes, and deep beneath all that ice, something that should not be there. This is not the Pluto you learned about in school. And honestly, the real version is so much stranger and so much darker than anyone was prepared for. The first images from New Horizons shocked everyone. Instead of a boring ball of ice, Pluto had enormous mountains rising several kilometers high and entire regions with almost no impact craters, meaning the surface there is surprisingly young. In planetary science, that's a huge deal. Normally, the farther you go from the sun, the more ancient and unchanged things become. Or places like our moon or Mercury are covered in craters because nothing reshapes their surfaces anymore. But Pluto, huge parts of it look like they were formed very recently in geological terms. Some areas may only be tens of millions of years old, which is practically yesterday compared to the age of the solar system. So the obvious question became, what on Pluto is reshaping its surface? One of the biggest mysteries is a massive heart-shaped region called Sputnik Planitia. At first glance, it looks smooth and flat, but when scientists zoomed in, they noticed something bizarre. The entire surface is divided into giant polygon shapes that look almost like a cracked pane of glass. But these aren't cracks, they're actually huge cells of moving ice. Imagine boiling water in a pot. As heat rises from below, the water circulates in big convection currents. Something similar seems to be happening on Pluto, except instead of water, it's nitrogen ice. These cells are enormous, some of them about 30 kilometers across. That means Pluto's surface is slowly churning and recycling itself like a frozen lava lamp. Which is strange enough on its own, but it raises an even bigger mystery. For that movement to happen, there has to be heat coming from inside Pluto. And that's where things get really confusing. Pluto is incredibly small, only about 2/3 the size of Earth's moon. Objects that small usually cool down and become geologically dead billions of years ago because they simply don't have enough internal heat to stay active. Yet Pluto clearly is. So where is the energy coming from? One theory is that Pluto might still have a subsurface ocean hidden deep beneath its icy crust. A massive ocean of liquid water buried under kilometers of ice in one of the coldest regions of the solar system. If that sounds impossible, scientists once thought so too. But several pieces of evidence are starting to point in that direction. The biggest clue, again, comes from Sputnik Planitia. This region is actually a gigantic impact basin, a huge crater created when something massive slammed into Pluto billions of years ago. But there's something strange about its position. Sputnik Planitia sits almost exactly opposite Pluto's largest moon, Charon. That alignment might not be a coincidence. Scientists think the weight of the nitrogen ice filling that basin caused Pluto to slowly reorient itself, turning that region toward Charon. But for that to happen, Pluto's interior would need to be partially liquid, allowing the outer shell to shift and move. In other words, a hidden ocean may still exist beneath the surface, and if that's true, Pluto suddenly becomes a lot more interesting, because liquid water means energy, and energy opens the door to something we usually only talk about much closer to the sun: habitability. Now, to be clear, no one is saying Pluto has alien life swimming around under its surface, but the idea that such a small, distant world could maintain liquid water for billions of years completely changes how scientists think about where life might exist. Pluto sits nearly 6 billion kilometers from the sun, and temperatures there can drop to around -230 degrees Celsius. By all logic, it should be a completely frozen wasteland, and yet it may still have an ocean. Which means there could be many more hidden ocean worlds in the outer solar system than we ever imagined. But Pluto isn't done surprising us. Another strange discovery is that Pluto actually has an atmosphere. Even though it's incredibly thin, it's made mostly of nitrogen, with traces of methane and carbon monoxide. But here's the weird part. This atmosphere is constantly escaping into space. Solar radiation slowly heats Pluto's surface, turning frozen nitrogen into gas. This gas rises and forms a hazy atmosphere that can stretch hundreds of kilometers above the surface, and some of it escapes Pluto's gravity entirely, drifting away into the darkness. Over billions of years, Pluto may have lost a huge portion of its atmosphere this way. The strangest feature of this atmosphere might be the blue haze surrounding the planet. New Horizons captured images showing multiple layers of haze stacked high above Pluto's surface. The sunlight interacting with methane molecules creates complex hydrocarbons, essentially forming organic particles that float in the atmosphere. And when sunlight hits them just right, they glow blue. Imagine standing on Pluto's surface and looking up at a faint blue alien sky. It's one of the most unexpected sights in the entire solar system. Pluto's mountains are another mystery. Many of them rise 3 to 4 kilometers high. On Earth, mountains are made from rock, but Pluto is mostly ice. Normally, ice would be far too soft to support mountains that tall. But Pluto is so cold that water ice behaves very differently there. At temperatures below -200 degrees Celsius, water ice becomes extremely hard, almost like rock. This allows Pluto to build towering mountain ranges made entirely of frozen water. Some of these mountains even appear to be floating on softer nitrogen ice, almost like giant icebergs slowly drifting across a frozen plain over millions of years. Then there's Pluto's strange relationship with its moon, Charon. Unlike most moons in the solar system, Charon is enormous compared to the planet it orbits. It's about half the size of Pluto itself. Because of that, Pluto and Charon are often described as a binary system. They don't orbit like a normal planet and moon. Instead, they both orbit around a point in space between them, almost like two worlds locked in a gravitational dance. Charon itself is also full of mysteries, including a massive canyon system stretching over 1,600 kilometers, longer than the Grand Canyon, and a strange reddish region at its north pole that scientists nicknamed Mordor Macula. Even that red region has a strange connection to Pluto. Scientists believe methane escaping from Pluto's atmosphere travels through space and freezes onto Charon's surface. Over time, sunlight slowly transforms that methane into complex organic molecules, giving the region its dark reddish color. In other words, Pluto is literally changing the surface of its own moon. But perhaps the most terrifying part of Pluto's story isn't what we've discovered. It's what we haven't. New Horizons only flew past Pluto once, giving us just a few hours of close-up observations after a journey that took nearly 10 years to complete. And even in that short window, it completely changed everything we thought we knew about this distant world. Imagine what we might discover if we actually sent an orbiter to Pluto, or even a lander. There could be cryovolcanoes erupting icy material, hidden oceans beneath the crust, and geological processes we've never seen anywhere else in the solar system. Pluto went from being the most boring object in the solar system to one of the most mysterious, and we've barely scratched the surface. For decades, Pluto was considered a forgotten world, at the edge of everything, a cold, lonely dwarf planet drifting in eternal darkness. But now we know something incredible. Even the smallest worlds in our solar system can be dynamic, complex, and full of surprises. And if Pluto can hide this many secrets, imagine what else might be waiting out there in the darkness of deep space. If you enjoyed exploring the mysteries of Pluto, make sure to like the video and subscribe for more deep space discoveries. Because the universe is full of strange worlds, and we're only just beginning to find them.